The most common one and the most common paper widely used is A-series paper. A-series is follow the common international standard, which is ISO 216. The sizes of A-series usually ranges from A0 to A10 based on the standard. However, because of the way the paper is being structured, how it can be gotten, there are times people try to expand the sizes in getting their own. What I mean by that is going beyond the standard of A0 to A10. Some may choose to have A11 if possible. Some may choose to have A-1 and all of that. Why is this possible? Is this a principle or there's a proper way of getting this? Is just a common aspect ratio. So the reason for that is each smaller size is created by folding the previous size in half. Let's take for example, when you want to get A1, that means you have to just fold A0 into 2. In some places, some people call the A0 A0. So don't think, oh, I've never heard of A0. I've been hearing of A0. If you hear A0, if you hear A0, it's still the same thing. So by folding A0 into half, we are going to get A1. And by folding A1 into half, we are going to get A2 and continue in that way. However, the most widely used and common saying around is A4. So you don't need to memorize this dimension. Peradventure, if you want to memorize, I think the one that will be easier for you to memorize is A4. That is widely seen, is more commonly used in the printing press or for common documents around. However, the dimension for each of these in millimeter, starting from A0 or A0, is 841 millimeter by 1189 millimeter. Now, if you are going by centimeter, that means you divide each of them by 10. Don't forget, 10 millimeter makes 1 centimeter. So which means if I'm giving the dimension of A0 in centimeter, I'm going to be saying 84.1 centimeter by 118.9 centimeter. However, to keep consistency, we are going to maintain millimeter as our measurement in this lesson. Alright, so what is the common use of A0? Because it's a large paper and the size is big, so when you want to print large map, posters, engineering drawings, A0 is mostly used or is commonly used for that regard. While A1, the dimension is 594 millimeter by 841, commonly used for posters for an architectural drawing. Then A2, A3, A3 is commonly used in for newspaper and diagrams. Then A4 outside the USA or in generally internationally, A4 is very common and is the most common, just as I've said. So it's used for letters, for report, for assignments, for school projects, teachers' writings, and all kind of things, academic purpose. Now, the dimension is 210 millimeter by 297. Don't forget, as I told you earlier, the way of getting the measurements or the ratio or the sizes of this paper is by folding one into half to get the next one. Let's take A4 for example now. If I want to get A5 from A4, that means I have to fold A4 into half. So folding from the longer length, which is the length, not the breadth. The breadth is the shorter, or the width is the shorter part, while the length is the longer part. If I need to get the next paper size lesser than A4, that means I have to fold the long side of A4 into 2, which means I'm folding the longer side, which is 297, into 2, so to get A5, which means the longer side before will become the shorter, while the shorter side will become the longer when I'm going lower in the sense I'm going to A5. But if I'm going higher, that I want to achieve a bigger paper size, that means I would have to double the shutter size. The width will be doubled, which means for me to get A3, I'm combining the two shutter size of A4. So what are we saying? For A4, the longer side, which is the length, is 297 millimeter. So if I want to get A3, that means my shorter side now will be 297, while making the shorter side in A4, which is 210, to be double. That is multiplying it by 2. So if I'm getting A3 size of paper, that means my it will be 297 millimeter by 420. So it's just either you reverse, or that means you either divide the long side into 2. If you are dividing the long side into 2, that means you want to get the smaller paper. While if you are doubling or multiplying the shorter side into by 2, that means you want to get the bigger size. I think you get the concept now. So they have constant aspect ratio. So all A series paper maintain the same aspect ratio. That means that is 1 ratio square root of 2, and that is approximately 1.4. So this A series is ideal for printing, for copying, and general document use, and it ensures compatibility across all applications. Just as we said, is the most commonly used.